Hi everybody, welcome to the plugin webinar. Good to see so many of you already here. My name's Andy, I'm responsible for software development at SDRplay, and I have with me Mike.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike, KD2KOG, part of the technical support staff at SDRplay.
We're going to just go through a couple of slides here. Let me just switch over to here. That's just a brief rundown of what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll do a quick overview of the plugin system, some details of what the plugin system can do. We'll talk a little bit about hardware control and why that isn't part of the plugin system. We'll cover the plugin folders just to straighten out any issues that you may have had in the last couple of weeks, as we've been sort of through a transition period with the community plugins, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll have some demonstration of the current plugins that are available, and we'll talk a little bit about future plugins, and we'll have a Q&A. And then after we've done the sort of end user plugin section, as it were, we'll go on and have a look at the plugin system from the developer's perspective, and I'll take you through getting the plugin system onto your machine, using Visual Studio 2019 to build the template that we provide, and doing a very sort of minor modification to the template, and just seeing how that all works. And then we'll have a Q&A for the developers at the end of that. And then after this stream is finished, these will become videos that are available on our YouTube channel. Okay, so let's have a little talk about the plugin system. So why did we add plugin support to SDRuno? Well, it was there's a number of reasons, and the primary factor was that there's a lot of functionality that was being requested of us that we are just not able to add onto the current roadmap. We've got a fairly extensive roadmap going up to 2.0, which is cross-platform, and we're a very small team. So the best way to get functionality into SDRuno was to add a plugin system, and then that allows third-party developers to then add extra functionality that we just couldn't get to because of time and resource. And that's why that helps us as well as it helps the end users of SDRuno. It's very important to remember that plugins can be of a variety of types. They can be free, they can be paid for, and they can also be open or closed source. They are nothing to do with us in terms of how the developer wants to market or distribute those plugins. We offer a community plugin installer as a way by where developers can through us sort of distribute their plugins through the SDRuno distribution. So that's a very important distinction to remember. We don't set any rules here with regards to what the developers do with the plugin, except that any plugin that goes through the community plugin installer, as we'll talk about in a little while, will need to be checked by us. It's also important to state that the functionality that can be added through the plugin system doesn't obviously have to line up with SDRuno releases. We try and get through SDRuno releases as quick as we can, but the great thing about the way it's been working at the moment is that some of the community plugins have appeared during a release. So that's great for us. It's great for the community that there's new content coming that isn't dependent on us. We're not holding that up, which is really great. Just a little bit about how they work. I don't want to get too technical at this point, but just to give you an idea of how the plugin system actually works. There's a number of aspects to the plugin system. one of them is obviously to get the data stream out of SDRuno, and also it can be put back into SDRuno. So the input IQ stream can be read out of SDRuno into the plugin system, as we do for things like the DAB plugin, and then it can also be written back into SDRuno. It can also be the audio stream can also be read from into SDRuno for things like the audio recorder, and it can also be written back to, which is a good example of that is the audio Equalizer plugin. And then we have the MPX Output, which we have a plugin that's specifically for that takes the MPX outputs directly from SDRuno and into applications such as RDS Spy. And we'll show you some plugins shortly that demonstrate all of these features. There's also the bidirectional control of the plugins. Sorry, of the buttons, of the button control within SDRuno. So pretty much whatever button you can see in Uno, aside from the hardware control, which we'll come on to, will be available via the plugin system, and then plugin developers can override those functions, as you'll see in the controller plugin that Eddie McDonald has done. There's no direct hardware control. We'll come on to that in just a short little while. But there are things like events. So if SDRuno does something like starts the stream, stops the stream, changes the modulation mode, whatever SDRuno does, it always tells the plugin system that what is happening, and so the plugin can then respond to that event to either ignore it or make a decision based upon the change that is coming through. All the plugin settings can be stored and recalled via the SDRuno ini file system. That's all fairly straightforward. And also, when anybody saves a workspace, there's an event that goes through to the plugin system to say that the workspace has been requested to be saved, and then the plugin can, if it chooses to, save its XY position back to SDRuno. So it can actually integrate itself into the layout of an SDRuno workspace. There is only one instance of a plugin per one instance of SDRuno. Keeps things simple, and the plugins can interact with multiple VRXs, so there's no need actually to have multiple instances of a plugin for a single instance of SDRuno. And we've also made sure that plugins can work together, so you can start more than one plugin at once. And we've got some examples of plugins where the plugins can interact with each other, and we'll show you that shortly. Okay, so why is there no hardware control? Well, it's very simple. This is a radio plugin API. It is not a hardware API. That already exists for people who want to do their own software with the hardware. But SDRuno already has optimal functionality with the devices, such as RSP Duo diversity feature and the RSP DX HDR, for example. And so the key thing is that you set the hardware up in SDRuno, and then you use the plugin system. The plugins can then just focus on what they do, rather than what hardware there is attached to the device. And it also means that we can add new hardware to the product lineup in the future, and we update SDRuno to cope for that. But it means that the plugins don't have to be updated either. You know, they already will be compatible by definition. Just a quick thing on the plugin folders. So we slightly changed the way. Well, let me wind back a little bit. I didn't realise that people were copying community plugins into the SDRuno installation folder. I guess if I now think about it, it probably was a fairly obvious thing for people to start doing. But we can't take responsibility for what happens to those files within the SDRuno installation folder. when we do things like upgrades or uninstalls, and so it's just not a safe place to put any third-party files. So so what we decided to do was, with our community plugin installer, we default to installing those into a community plugins folder within the My Documents area. And if you already have a folder that you're already using in mind, you can use the right click on the plugin control background in order to specify where that folder already resides on the system. But if you're coming to SDRuno from scratch by now, all of these folders are all the defaults. So the installer installs in this location, and SDRuno expects the files to be in this location. So so that should be hopefully a lot clearer going forward. So just a quickly touch on the community plugin installer. So if anybody has community plugins that they would like us to distribute with SDRuno, they can obviously contact us and let us know what that is. We fire up the plugin, we make sure it doesn't have any viruses, malware, and is ad free, and as long as it complies with all of those criteria, if you could put some instructions with it, or a kind of a help page, then we'll happily put that DLL and the and the relevant help page into the installer. That installer then gets included with the SDRuno installation. It just helps because on occasion we do have the need to modify the plugin system interface, which means that existing plugins won't be compatible with a new version of SDRuno. So that's already happened. So what we do is we take that responsibility of keeping those plugins up to date with each version of SDRuno. We sort of take that responsibility off of the developer, and so we kind of create a snapshot of a plugin that is compatible with the right version of SDRuno. So as long as you make sure you get the community plugins either with the SDRuno installer or from our downloads page, then you'll always be guaranteed to get the right version that's compatible. So Steve's got a quick video on this, and we'll run that now.
On the downloads page at SDRplay.com, there is an option there for SDRuno plugins. We'll select that, and then we will see the two choices that are available. The first one is for the SDRplay written plugins, and the second one is for the community plugins. Now both these installers are included if you're installing SDRuno or updating to 1.40.2. But just for a demonstration purposes, I'm going to download and install the community plugin installer. Now that we've downloaded the installer, we can go ahead and run it. I suggest you read the comments that come up at various stages during the installer. It may remind you of some information you need later on, although you can always consult the user manual. The first thing to note is that you will be prompted to select a location for the community plugins. Unless you have a good reason to do otherwise, I suggest you stick with the default. But if you had previously decided you wanted to keep your plugin somewhere else, you can open up the window here and select where it is. In fact, there's the plugins folder I created when SDRuno 1.4 first came out, so if I wanted to, I could continue to use that. But if this is your first time installing, then I suggest you just go ahead and accept the default. Now that the installation is complete, let's have a look at where the various files are stored on your hard drive. So if we open up File Explorer, first of all, let's navigate to our Documents folder, and within that you will see a newly created Community Plugins folder, and in there you will see the community plugins from BCS and Fran. That's the default location, and it's perfectly fine to continue to use that. But let's also have a look elsewhere on the drive. Within the program files directory, under the SDRuno directory, you will see that there is another plugins folder there. And within that plugins folder, you will see the SDRplay defined plugins. You should not plug any of your own plugins or community plugins into this folder. It's reserved strictly for plugins from SDRplay. So let's review the do's and don'ts. The plugins folder within the SDRuno directory is for SDRplay use only. Do not install any community plugins in there. You will also have a community plugins folder inside your documents folder, and that is the correct place to install the various third-party or community plugins you have downloaded. And by default, that is where the installer will locate them.
Okay, so now we're going to have a look at some plugins. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the plugins that we've produced. These are primarily to show what can be accomplished with the plugin system. They are probably not the finished article, but they are good enough to show the capability of the plugin system, and to hopefully inspire people to maybe go on and do something extra with the with the plugin system. And so we're going to have a quick run through of each of these in turn. We're going to start with the audio recorder.
Check A1021, see it. 01270 Fox, contact line is 012507.
2507, 70 Fox, see it.
Here, 2 Mike Sierra, descending team 4000 now.
2 Mike Sierra, continue descent to 4000.
Descending team 4000 now.
2 Mike Sierra, continue descent to 4000.
Here, 2 Mike Sierra, contact on the approach 119.7.
5AM 1970, 2 Mike Sierra.
Or 73 December Charlie, contact Palm Beach.
5AM 1970, 2 Mike Sierra.
Okay, Mike.
Okay, in that video, I demonstrated the audio recorder, and basically what the audio recorder is it's recording the current VFO, and we're recording 2 formats that you can play back in any audio recording playback application like VLC. I recorded it in MP3 format, and then I also recorded it in WAV format, and what that allows me to do is, one example is I could share those files with other enthusiasts that are listening to broadcast online, or I can put it in my own personal archive if I wanted to make a recording of that station for later playback.
Okay, great stuff. So we'll go back to the list, and so the next video is about the DX Cluster plugin, and we'll talk a little bit about that after the video.
I'm now going to demonstrate the DX Cluster plugin in SDRuno. So here's the plugin panel where you can highlight the DX Cluster plugin and load it. Up comes the DX Cluster plugin control panel. And first of all, just a couple of words about what is a DX Cluster. So this is a telnet based network of computers that are each running a software package specially capable of gathering and disseminating information logged by radio amateurs on particular DX call signs that they've spotted around the globe. So a lot of these are interconnected, and depending on which is your favourite, you'll tend to find much of the same information is shown. And taking a look at the control panel here, let's just start it going while I talk a bit about what's going on here. You'll notice in terms of the status, it's now running, and there's little count number that's going up. What this is the count of new call sign postings that have appeared on the network, which you'll see in a minute are actually going to be annotated onto the spectrum display. There's a time in the top right hand corner set as a default to 5 minutes. You can change this. What this means is that the call signs which are being displayed are going to persist for 5 minutes, because obviously over time they become out of date. But you can play with this number. Let's now take a look at one or two of the other bands, because what this tells me is that there's now 10 brand new call signs being added that people have spotted somewhere within the HF amateur bands. So it looks like none on 40. Let's try 80 meters. Look, there's 1, 2, 3 stations have been logged, which are there's a UE3 and RL3 and RO3. Let's have a look at 20 meters. There's quite a few call signs appearing there. You'll notice there's some other things you can adjust here, which is where the baseline is for the annotation to appear on your spectrum display. The default is -70 dB, which is this line here, the -70 dBm line. If there are multiple stations close together, it doesn't drop down with another yellow line, but you can see, you can just line this up and obviously see if you can actually go and catch some of these signals.
Okay, Jean Park, Central Park. Nous avons travaillé avant. In August, 20 on 20 meters avec toi, Jean-Claude. Jean-Claude, merci. 136 pour vous. Je m'appelle Bob. Bravo, Oscar Bravo, mon PTH, West Virginia. 73 à bientôt from Kilo 8 November Yankee.
Yeah, so that was a nice demo. You heard K8NY, so it really does work. Conditions are obviously favourable, because this obviously depends a lot on the propagation of the time. So it's but it's a very, very neat capability, and depends very much on this network of amateurs adding and contributing to it.
Okay, so I just want to quickly say something about the DX Cluster plugin, because a number of people have had some issues with it in the past. I would say that it was something that was kind of put together as a kind of just to sort of show the sort of stuff that you can do with the annotation system, just like Fran does. We did put the source code out on the plugin system on GitHub. So if anybody does want to take it, extend it, change it, improve it, then obviously that's absolutely fine. Okay, so let's kind of let's crack on with the rest. So the next one is the DAM player, and we'll take a quick look at that.
Go to DAB, click on Load Plugins, and up will pop the DAB plugin panel. Make sure that you're already running SDRuno. If not, press play. And just a note here, which we'll cover in the demo, you may need to go back and adjust the RF gain. Typically, you'd want it fairly high, but excessive signals can cause some issues, and a future update may address that. But so there's a little bit of experimentation needed. Then finally, you press full scan, and the scanning begins. So I've got SDRuno already running. I'm going to select the DAB plugin, and I'm also going to select the audio recorder. By holding the control key, I can highlight both these plugins and load them both at the same time. You can see the DAB plugin panel has appeared here, and you'll notice that the channel box is empty at this point because this is the first time that I'm doing a scan. So let's set the scan going by pressing full scan. The whole process takes about 3 minutes to scan all the way from 174 megahertz right up to 240 megahertz, and there's a progress bar along the bottom here, and as it finds channels they will appear in the box here. It's now found its first set of 7 channels. That's after about a minute and a half, and now it's up to 15. So the scan's complete, and you'll see it now says full scan, and we found 69 channels. And if you scroll down the channel list, you can see there's a mixture of DAB and DAB plus channels have been found. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to make sure you've got the advanced codec loaded that's needed for DAB plus decoding, and if you haven't already done that, that can be found just by going to your start menu and then amongst the SDRplay programs you'll see DAB plugin help. This is where the documentation is for the DAB plugin. So in the documentation, as well as instructions on using this plugin, you'll find all the information you need for downloading the freeware advanced audio decoder. You'll notice I've been on mute, so if I now unmute the audio, we can select initially a DAB station. That wooden rocking chair along. For each channel, there's additional information at the side. Here's the multiplexer. You can see the transmitter information, and below you can see the RDS text relating to the channel. You'll also see the signal to noise ratio displayed. Here we've got 18 dBs, which is a good healthy SNR. You'll find that DAB stations typically need at least 8 or 9 dBs of SNR, and the DAB plus stations are a little bit more. And here's an example of a DAB plus station. I mentioned the RF gain setting because in extreme strong signal localities it may be necessary to back this off in order to decode the stations. We have to automate that in a future version, but so there may be a little bit of trial and error. Certainly where I am in central UK, I have to back it off a little bit, and it works pretty well. I'd like to just show a neat feature now with the audio recorder. So if we just open up
quite strong recommendations for how you could make it clear, which I hope
the
they
audio
will adopt.
channel,
I strongly believe that any trade deal that we do must have
we simply press start recording on the audio recording plugin.
Goods to high welfare standards and high environmental standards abroad, good on them, but that protect the environment and animal welfare. Absolutely.
To play back the recording, you'll notice I had it just in my documents folder, so we simply open up my documents folder.
Our farmers, if people are able to produce goods to high welfare standards and high environmental standards abroad, good on them, but that protect the environment.
So that's a nice demonstration of two plugins working together. The DAB plugin with its audio piped through SDRuno and then back out to another plugin, which is in this case a simple audio recorder function.
Okay, so and we'll talk a little bit about the MPX output as the video for that one is playing. So we'll start that now.
Okay. Earlier, my colleague mentioned the MPX Output plugin, which is basically used for RDS Spy. Some of you may not know what RDS is, and RDS is a communication protocol for embedding small amounts of digital information in conventional FM radio broadcasts. Now, RDS consists of several types of information, including time, station identification, and program information. The SDRuno MPX Output plugin sends 192 kilohertz FM stream to the RDS decoder, which is RDS Spy in this demonstration.
Okay, that's great. So just you can see that RDS Spy looks like quite a complex bit of software. You can get a lot of information from that, right?
Yeah, you get the PI information, which is basically like a fingerprint to the station that's transmitting. You can get the bit error rate on a graph. You can get the artist information. There's a lot of embedded information in the RDS stream, and it's very, very, very popular with the FM DXers, FM broadcast DXers, because using the PI code, you can actually get an idea of what station you're listening to by looking up that PI code.
Right. And it's there's a lot of statistical information
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, a lot of statistical data that you can go back and look back at, look back upon.
Yeah.
And record. Really fascinating decoder.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, we can see a lot of information being
Yeah, from what I gathered, the PI codes, and if anybody's in the chat, please correct me if I'm wrong, but on the bottom right of the decoder where my mouse cursor is, they send out certain groups of information, and that decoding window shows you what groups it's receiving. And each group represents a different type of statistic, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay. Okay, right. So I think we can stop that there. We'll just go back to the slides for a moment. So yeah, like I said at the beginning, this is just a kind of an example of what can be done with the plugin system. That's primarily why we're doing these plugins. And now what we'll have a look at some of the third-party plugins that we're aware of, and that are being used by a lot of people, and we see a lot of comments on Facebook and Twitter and forums. So the first one we're going to take a look at is Fran by Eric Cottrell. I think Eric's in the chat. Good to see you, Eric. And so we'll run a quick video on Fran. So do you want to just talk through what's going on here, Mike?
Basically what Fran is, it annotates the main SP with station information depending on the list that you apply to it. So you can use, you can use a lot of lists with this. You can use the I believe it's Dan Ferguson's shortwave list. Eric, if I got that wrong, please correct me in the chat. You can use SDRuno S1B files and select that as a source and display the current station information on the main SP, and it annotates it with what it thinks is being broadcasted.
Okay, so I can see that there's different. There's different colours. Is that representative of different?
I believe, and like I said, if I have this wrong, Eric, just correct me. I believe the different colors represent different languages that might be broadcasted. So let's say if I was listening to, I don't know, Radio Romania International, and it was broadcast in English, Spanish, and German. I believe the way Eric has it set up is that whatever the language is being transmitted in is going to be represented by a color on the main SP.
Great. I can see that Eric will probably have, so Eric's just said in the chat there, color is different language, so you got that spot on, Mike. I can
All right,
see
thanks,
that.
Eric.
I mean, from what I've seen, I mean, a lot of people like Fran, and I think Eric's probably he's probably got a list of enhancements as as long as his arm.
Yeah. As you see in the videos, I'm just selecting different sources, and right now I'm just picking one of my banks, my own personal SDRuno S1B files.
Yeah.
And what it's going to do is it's just going to take that S1B file, take the contents, and match up the description and the frequency and display it on the main SP. So the title, the description that I gave it, let's say was WWV for a time station. It's going to display that description of what I typed in on the main SP, which is extremely powerful for working with your own memory banks and displaying the annotations on the main SP.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so so that was Fran. We're going to now move on to the Black Cat Systems plugin by Chris Smolinski, and we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we looking at here, Mike? This is
All right. The Black Cat Systems plugin, there's a slight delay between what I'm seeing and what's being shown.
Yeah.
The Black Cat Systems plugin is basically a bridge between SDRuno and existing decoders that were already developed by Black Cat Systems. So as you can see here, I'm launching Black Cat WeFax decoder. Now that's a standalone decoder. You don't need SDRuno, but I'm using the Black Cat Systems plugin in order to send the audio. This is where I can decode the WeFax and the VFO information, the frequency. And it will automatically tune stations. As I click on broadcast, it will automatically tune SDRuno, and it will start decoding the WeFax transmission. All automatic.
So this not only replaces the need for a virtual audio cable
Yes,
between
exactly.
SDRuno and any of the Black Cat's system software, but it's also doing frequency control.
Yes, so
back
no
the other
virtual
way.
COM ports.
Yeah.
Exactly. No virtual COM ports, no virtual audio cables.
Yeah. So in fact, it's using the interesting thing here is that it's using the UDP packet system for delivering the audio. So you can have SDRuno on one part of your network, and you can actually have the Black Cat system software on a different platform on another part of your network.
Yes. And like I said, this is just a bridge. Now, the bridge right now is talking to the WeFax decoder from Black Cat Systems. It will also communicate with DX Toolbox, which is by Black Cat Systems, which I'll demonstrate later on in this video, and also the slow scan TV decoder. It will interface with and control the frequency and send the streamed audio.
Yeah, that's pretty neat plugin as an interface between the two systems.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, Chris is here. How are you, Chris? Good to see you.
Okay, so you just closed down the what of it? It's okay. So one application's just closed down, and now you've got another one.
Yep, and then I just launch another one.
Yep.
The plugin is aware that I launched another application. It's going to start the stream automatically. I don't have to click anything. I select streamer in the decoder, so it knows to use the Black Cat Systems plugin. And this is just telling it what frequency to tune SDRuno to, which it does, 14.230, which is a slow scan. That's the 20-meter slow scan frequency.
Right.
And midway of taking this video, I wasn't sure if I was going to get a slow scan capture, and I actually got two decent ones.
Oh, I can see one coming through there. That's cool. So just to remind people, this is SDRuno bringing the IQ data in, sending it to the plugin system, and then Chris's plugin is then sending that back out via UDP on your network to either decode locally on the same machine, or you can decode it in on another machine on another part of the network, which I think is really nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So.
And
oh, sorry. Is there more?
There should be one other one coming up after this, where it's interfacing with DX Toolbox by Black Cat System, and DX Toolbox is a very, very informative application for propagation, for frequency information. It's exactly what it says it is. It's a DX Toolbox. I can't really give this application enough justice by explaining it, by how deep and informative this application really is, between gray line propagation, A to B propagation from my QTH to another QTH using it's extremely good. Just watch the video and you guys will see how fantastic this application really is.
And we can do satellite tracking via this.
Satellite tracking, main SP annotations with frequency information.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. So that's really, I see all the annotations there. That's really cool. Okay. Well, I think it's worth pointing out that we should say that obviously Chris has got to earn a living, so his software is chargeable, but he does have some he has some try before you buy stuff, I believe. So
I believe his software, and I believe Chris is in chat. Yeah, absolutely have a look.
Yeah.
But there is a trial. I'm not sure of the details, but definitely take a look at Chris's website.
Yeah.
It should definitely be on there.
Okay. So just to point out, the plugin is obviously this Black Cat Systems plugin is free. Some of the software that it interfaces may not be, but that's that's obviously all available to try before you buy. There you go. Which is a great way to go. Okay, right. So let's now go back and so now we're going to look at another plugin by Chris. This is the Audio Equalizer.
Yes.
Now there is some audio in this video, so we won't talk over it. But we should just point out that it is a paid-for plugin. But again, I believe you can use it before you pay for it. So you can have a go with it and see if it's going to do what you want it to. And so I would if that's something you're interested, go and have a look at it. We should point out that you can do audio equalization other ways, but this is just as a convenient way of doing it via the plugin system. So we'll take a look at that now.
Visibility 4,000 meters. Size 1,300 feet. Cologne Bonn, Metroport. Cologne Bonn at 200. Wind 130. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Light rail. Light speaker. Guide 2 at 900. Buzzers at 1,800 feet. At 2,200 feet. Temperature 2.1. 1011 Celsius. Düsseldorf, Metroport. Düsseldorf at 2,200. Wind 160 degrees, 10 knots. Visibility 9 kilometers. Cloud, cooling, open at 600 feet. Temperature 3.2. QNH 1010. Tempo, size, cooling, open at 1,300 feet. Unit, Metroport. Unit at 2,200. 200 degrees, 6 knots. Visibility 9 kilometers. Cloud, cooling, overcast at 2,500 feet. Temperature -3.
Okay, so that was the audio equalizer.
Yep, the Black Cat Systems Audio Equalizer, basically adjusting the volume of specific EQs. And when you apply the EQ, it can help with shaping the tone of certain broadcasts, but it also can be a big help with users that have possible hearing loss issues.
Okay, very good. Okay, we'll just go and have a look at what we've got left to do. And this is the contour controller by Eddie McDonald. So as at the time of this webinar, the contour controller isn't currently in the community plugin installer, but Eddie's just putting the final bits and pieces together for that, so we can include that. But it is available on his website for download. But we've got a quick video showing the controller function. I think this is great, and let's show you the video. This is the Contour Shuttle controller plugin by Eddie McDonald from SDRplugins.com, and I'm just going to show you how it's working with a couple of the Shuttle controllers that I have. So I shall show you those very quickly. So aside from my mouse over here, I've got the Shuttle Express, which is the circular device in the center. It has a jog dial in the middle with a dimple, so you can spin it around. It has an outer dial, which is called the Shuttle ring, and that turns a certain number of degrees to the right, then it hits a hard limit, and then it's same to the left. I'll show you how that works shortly. And then it has 5 programmable buttons around the outside of the device. The big brother to the Shuttle Express is the Shuttle Pro version 2. I can't see to find the Shuttle Pro version 1 anymore, so I don't know if they sell that. But that one has, the Shuttle Pro has 13 programmable buttons. The Pro version 2 has 15 programmable buttons, and aside, obviously, it's got the jog wheel in the middle with some just a different number of dimples, and it's also got the shuttle ring in the same fashion as the Shuttle Express. The nice thing about the Shuttle Pro version 2 is that these 9 buttons at the top here have translucent covers, and they provide, hopefully I can show you this, they provide little cutouts, both blank ones for you to write your own controls, and some pre-printed ones that you can just sort of pop out of this as like perforated card, that you just pop them out and then put them underneath the translucent buttons there, and I think that's quite a nice touch. You can actually label up your own buttons, but both devices function in the same way, just slightly different jog wheels and different number of programmable buttons. So the Shuttle Pro version 2 has 15 and the Shuttle Express has 5. And if I just quickly show you where I found them on the web, the Shuttle, I'll add your audio to the dev. Oh, I've ballsed up, Mike. I've ballsed up. This is the Contour Shuttle controller plugin by Eddie McDonald from SDRplugins.com. And I'm just going to show you how it's working with a couple of the Shuttle controllers that I have. So I shall show you those very quickly. So aside from my mouse over here, I've got the Shuttle Express, which is the circular device in the center. It has a jog dial in the middle with a dimple, so you can spin it around. It has an outer dial, which is called the Shuttle ring, and that turns a certain number of degrees to the right, then it hits a hard limit, and then it's same to the left. I'll show you how that works shortly. And then it has 5 programmable buttons around the outside of the device. The big brother to the Shuttle Express is the Shuttle Pro version 2. I can't see to find the Shuttle Pro version 1 anymore, so I don't know if they sell that. But that one has, the Shuttle Pro has 13 programmable buttons. The Pro version 2 has 15 programmable buttons, and aside, obviously, it's got the jog wheel in the middle with some just a different number of dimples, and it's also got the shuttle ring in the same fashion as the Shuttle Express. The nice thing about the Shuttle Pro version 2 is that these 9 buttons at the top here have translucent covers, and they provide, hopefully I can show you this, they provide little cutouts, both blank ones for you to write your own controls, and some pre-printed ones that you can just sort of pop out of this as like perforated card, that you just pop them out and then put them underneath the translucent buttons there, and I think that's quite a nice touch. You can actually label up your own buttons. But both devices function in the same way, just slightly different jog wheels and different number of programmable buttons. So the Shuttle Pro version 2 has 15 and the Shuttle Express has 5. And if I just quickly show you where I found them on the web, the Shuttle Express we got introduced to by Martin Lynch and Sons. They actually stock them, so that's where you can, in the UK anyway, that's where you can get them from there. Obviously sort of Google search and in your own region. And the larger one, the Pro V2, I just googled and found it on this site, but I'm sure you can find it elsewhere. So in the UK, the Pro V2's about twice the price of the Shuttle Express, but I'm sure you can find deals in your area. Okay, so let's go back to SDRuno and show you the plugin in action. So I've started up SDRuno and I've launched the Contour Shuttle plugin from the plugin browser here, and I've just put it in my workspace up here. I've just sort of moved the SP2 window along a little bit, and just so that I could sort of fit it in, but obviously you can put it in wherever you want. There's a number of buttons on here that hopefully is self-explanatory. There's an off button, so you can disable all of the controller input. You may have other applications that you want the controllers to work with, so it's kind of nice to be able to just disable it completely. Then you select which device you have. There's the Express, the Pro, and the Pro V2. All three devices are supported with this plugin. And then down here we have a VRX selector. So if you've got multiple VRXs open, you can determine here which VRX you control with the active controller. I'll quickly show you there's a nice configuration panel that Eddie's got here. So you press the set panel and a little window will appear. So this is because I've had the Express selected and press the settings button, I get the mapping for the Express. You can either select a drop down here, you can configure each of the buttons or what the jog dial or the shuttle ring do, or you can click on these. It's nice, you can click on these on the actual buttons themselves, and then just once you've selected the button that you want to change the configuration for, you can then drop down the available options of what the plugin allows you to control, and then change that accordingly. We've already got a number of things set here, so and also just show you, so there's an about, so if you've got any issues with it you can contact Eddie at SDRplugins.com, and basic settings. So in here you can actually select an external application that you can assign to one of the buttons to launch. So if there's all, like, I don't know, let's say you want to run Notepad, you can put Notepad in here, and then you can map that to one of the options here is to launch an external application. So you set that in here, and then whenever you press the button it will launch the application that you've specified here. And you can also select to launch it as administrator, which I think is quite a nice idea. It can support up to 2 devices at once, so hence the device position selection. And the frequency step is either auto, i.e. that takes the frequency step that's in the RX control panel, or you can have a custom step. So if I press custom here, I can specify a custom step size in hertz, and when you turn the wheel it will use this instead of the RX control panel. So a bit more customization there, which is quite nice. And if I close this down and now select the Pro V2, which is the other device, in fact I'll show you the Pro. I don't have the Pro, but I'll show you the Pro button. I'll press Pro. Here's the settings. You can see that there are 13 buttons that you can control, plus obviously the jog wheel and the shuttle ring. And if I now go to the Pro V2, which is obviously one of the ones I have, and then click settings, you can see you get a slightly different graphic again. So here I've got the 15 programmable buttons along with the jog wheel and the shuttle ring. So at the moment we've got button 1 on the Pro V2 is to toggle the mute function. So up here I've got mute. I won't actually toggle the mute because I'm slightly worried about copyright. So let's go to a different button. So button 2 we've got squelch. So we can see, we'll be able to see that working quite nicely. So button 2 is squelch. So I'm going to turn off that. And we're in SDRuno obviously, and then I'm going to press button 2 on the, see if I can get to this without blocking the view. I'm going to press button 2, and you can see that the squelch line has appeared on the display, and you can see that the squelch has in fact enabled on the RX control panel, and I can just press the button 2, and that's quite nicely toggling away there. And all of the other functions will do the same thing. So if I go back to the settings, let's find out what we've got on button 3. So we've got FM noise reduction on button 3, toggle the VFO on button 4. We can try those. So button 3, which is up here, so the FM noise reduction, unfortunately that's in a different panel I don't have displayed. So if I open up the EX control panel and now press the button 3, you can see that the FM noise reduction is going on and off there. Button 4 was the VFO, so let me just close that, and we'll press button 4, and you can see that button 4 is now toggling the between the two VFOs. I've just got 2 megahertz and an FM broadcast band, which is toggling between. So pretty much the buttons all operate in the same way. They'll just show you the jog dial and the shuttle wheel. So the jog dial, let's just see what they're configured to. This is where the labeling of the buttons helps, so you don't have to keep referring to the mappings. So the jog dial is set to the VFO frequency, and the shuttle ring is set to the squelch level. So we should be able to see that happily working away. So let's try the squelch level. So if I turn the jog wheel, if you can see up here in the I don't know if I turn that on. Let's see if that helps. Yes, you can see the yellow line probably moving better than you can see the level in the RX control panel. But if I turn the jog wheel and hold it, so basically you literally, it goes so many steps one way and then so many steps the other way. And also Eddie's got the display. If you watch the plugin up here, you'll see that Eddie's got the values displayed up there whilst it's being turned. So all I can do is I can turn it and hold it one way or the other, and that is how the shuttle ring works. And the jog wheel works in a different way, where you can put your finger in one of these little dimples and then just turn it, and you can see that the VFO is changing. If I go up and down, there you go, that's working quite nicely. So like I say, you can set those wheels to any function that supports levels, values, rather than the buttons, which are sort of the on-off or setting, like things like different modes. You could set FM or AM, have different buttons for those. So the 5 buttons across here maybe would be, you know, things like FM, AM, CW, upper sideband, lower sideband. You could have those for that. Anyway, the possibilities are endless. But anyway, just a quick video showing you the plugin. It's very nice work by Eddie, as you know, as all the plugins that we've got from our developers, and hopefully we'll see a lot more in the future. So thanks a lot. Okay, so that was a quick rundown of all of the current sort of plugins that we're aware of that are out there. Just on that last one, let's actually go to our talking heads section. So just on the last one, just to I see Eddie's in the chat, which is good to see. Nice to see you, Eddie. So Eddie is the author of that plugin, and it works extremely well. as Eddie says in the chat, you don't need to be in a particular window have focus. As long as the plugin is running, it will take focus. The slight unfortunate thing of the way that the contour system works is that if I've got, say, Chrome in focus, and there is a default mapping in contour for Chrome, then obviously it will take it will affect Chrome than it will do SDRuno. But if I've got, say, File Explorer in focus where there are no mappings for contour, then contour works great with SDRuno still. So you kind of got to experiment a little bit with it, but it's a great it's like all of the third-party plugins that we've been seeing. They're all very high standard. Thanks to Eddie for the Eddie kind of completed the look of the title bar for the plugins. So that was really appreciated, and it's nice that the plugins look like the rest of SDRuno, and it's nice to see that the third-party developers have actually embraced that as well, because you can make a plugin look like anything you want, really, but it's really nice to see this ecosystem taking shape. Okay, let's have a quick. Mike, do you want to just have a quick word on some of these plugins? Your impressions of the ones that we've seen from the community? I think they've been great.
Yeah, excellent work from Eric, Eddie, and Chris. I personally use them myself. Really fantastic work, and as you said, it really keeps with the theme of SDRuno. They could have taken it any creative direction they wanted to. It's just really nice to see everybody embracing the plugin system.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so
good stuff, guys. Really good stuff. Eric, Eddie, and Chris.
Is indeed.
Yeah.
So we'll just touch on the future of the plugin system. Why have we developed some plugins, and why will we develop more plugins? And it really it's to showcase the plugin system. We're hoping that some of the plugins that we do, and also some of the plugins you'll see from third-party developers, hopefully that will inspire you to maybe think of a plugin idea, or even have a go at the plugin system yourself. If you're not really familiar with C++ or the whole sort of development system, you might want to stick around to the end of the video, where I'm going to take you through the downloading the plugin system and doing a very simple build on our template that we give out with the plugin system, and how to modify it. So it may help you if you want to stick around for that. And they also help test the plugin API functionality. We obviously need to, as we add more functionality, we obviously need to have systems that test that. So it's a great way to do that as well. We may or may not do more plugins. We are working on a dump 1090 plugin, so for ADSB. So there is a dump 1090 solution already, which sort of runs in on Windows anyway. It runs in a command prompt, and it's not particularly the most intuitive application in the world to get your head around. So I think if we can present that in a plugin window with some easy way of being able to set some options, and then see the resulting aircraft being tracked, I think that would be quite nice. So we're certainly doing that one. But whether we do any more than that, it just depends on time, resources, and obviously whatever we do on the plugin system from here on in just detracts from what we're doing in SDRuno and our other software development and the roadmap. And obviously everybody, I'm sure, wants us to crack on with SDRuno roadmap and that push towards cross-platform. Okay, so go back to the talking heads. Okay, so that's really everything we had to show on the first section of this webinar. If anybody has any questions, we'll go back through. We'll try and go back through the chat and try and catch up with what they are. If 20 plugins are installed, who is responsible for updating them? The user, or will SDRuno fetch the latest version and install it? So what we do two things. We have the community plugin installer, and that will contain all of the up-to-date versions of the plugins that we're aware of, and you will either be able to download that independently from our downloads page, or you'll be able to get it when you upgrade the next version of SDRuno. So it'll be both. It'll be in both locations, and when we update, so like for example, Eddie's contour plugin is going to be appearing in the community plugins installer very soon, and once we've got that in there, then we'll do a re-release of the community plugins installer, and we'll make that everybody aware of that on our social media and our Facebook, Twitter, and the website. We'll make sure people are aware that that's included. So, not necessarily a responsibility of who updates them, but there are certainly easy ways to make sure that you are kept up to date with the right versions of the plugins for the same version of Uno that you're running. Okay, looks like somebody's doing some debugging there. I'm not sure I can help with that. Let's see. We've got some other questions. One point to note, that if you have previously copied a third-party plugin into the SDRuno plugins folder, you'll need to delete it from there before Uno will show you it in the community plugins folder. So it's worth having a look in the SDRuno plugins folder just to make sure you don't have anything that isn't SDRplay related in there. Okay, so M1NM. Okay, so this is M1MM. You're aware of this is the logging software, Mike? You know.
N1MM logger.
Yeah, looks like we have a question from the developer in the chat. It's good to see.
And what is?
I need to scroll back and find out what the question was, but we do have one there. Hardware directly, believe, runs without Uno. No benefit to having them work in parallel. So if you've got software that already works with the hardware API, I guess the question is, should you replace that with something with a plugin instead? Really, I would take each of those cases on a case-by-case basis and say that, does your software require specific hardware control? If you don't, if you just need the IQ stream or the audio IQ stream from SDRuno, then I think the plugin system is better suited for you in the long run, because it means that you don't have to continually update it when there are updates to the hardware API, for example, or when we add new hardware in. If you've already got, if you just write the plugin once and it will work on every RSP we've made. So I think I would treat that as I would do that on a case-by-case basis. It really depends on what level of control you need. But if it's a radio application, I think a plugin is a better approach. So Mike Rook says, what provision do you have for plugin licensing IP? We don't get involved in licensing IP. Whatever plugin the third-party developers choose to write is completely up to them. Obviously, we assume that they have the rights to do whatever they're doing for if it's a decoder or whatever it is. But it's not for us to get involved with. We don't want to get in the middle of that whole system, we provide the plugin system, and then it's down to the developers to do with what they want to do with the plugin system. Where can I find documentation on the hardware API? If you go to the apps catalog, so go to our website, SDRplay.com, go up to the top and click on downloads, and then the API, the apps catalog link, and inside there, if you search for the API, you'll find documentation on both the old API, which is version 2, and the current API, which is version 3. Can you tell me the maximum USB bandwidth needed when used in diversity mode? So bandwidth, USB bandwidth, we did this. So diversity mode requires it's a. I don't see you mean by band. You mean how many? It's a 16-bit container. It's a 6 megahertz sample rate. USB galvanic isolation options for my Duo. I guess I'm not really sure the link between those two, but maybe something.
Is this the one with the galvan? I think he's asking what the USB speed is of the RSP, because I think he wants to match it up with a USB galvanic isolator, which has certain speed requirements.
Well, the high-speed USB 2 interface. Has I forget what it is now. I can't remember. You need to look up the USB specs and look up whatever the high-speed USB 2.0 interface is. I can't remember off the top of my head.
480.
Yeah. But in isochronous mode, maximum high speed USB 2, 480 megabits per second. There you go. Someone's just given me the answer.
Okay.
When we did the tests with Virtual Here, which was basically going from the USB interface across the network and back to USB interface again, that required upwards of 200 megabits per second over the network. But it's So go on, Mike.
Chris, I have some information of my own personal bookmarks. Do you have a call sign that you're comfortable with putting in chat, and I'll personally send you off some links for additional resources and information regarding this? All right, we'll wait for Chris. If you have a call sign or an email address, just pop it in chat, and I'll send you some resource links regarding galvanic isolation and USB ports. It should be relevant to what you're looking for.
Okay. Is there any other questions we've missed? Chat's been quite active, which is great. So if we've missed any, I do apologise.
Good to see everybody.
But it is really good to see so many people here. Yeah. It's okay. Patrick Martin, my current areas of interest are writing plugins and interaction with the memory banks for auto loading system info and 2 trunk system tracking. So interaction with the memory banks is currently what you'd need to do is the same as what Eric Cottrell's done for Fran. So the S1B files are comma separated value files, and if you open one up in SDRuno, you'll see what each of the columns represents. But you can load up an S1B file just like Eric does with Fran, and having a trunk system plugin would be a great idea. Okay, I don't know if there's any other questions. Anybody?
Any questions, comments, or regarding the videos that you guys saw, or the plugin demonstration?
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then what we'll do is we're going to just switch over to do a more of a developer section now, and we'll cover downloading the plugin, building the template, and we'll go through doing some very simple modifications and just showing you where the files go and how that runs within SDRuno. Against my better judgment, we're going to be doing this completely live, so hold on to your hats, and here we go. We'll just finish off this section, Mike, and Mike's going to stay around, but we're going to switch over to a different screen. But for now, I think we just want to wish everybody a safe and happy holidays and New Year.
Absolutely. Happy holidays, everybody, and happy and safe New Year.
Okay, so hopefully many of you will stick around for the developers section. So let's cut over to a different screen, and what we're going to do is we're going to so got another slide here with just a quick overview of what we're going to do.
And as you guys are watching, as Andy gets that queued up, if you guys have questions, comments, put them in the chat. There's a lot of us from SDRplay that are here to help you and assist you, so please leave them in the chat, and I'll do my best to help you as well as my colleagues will. Okay,
so for this section, we're just going to go through, I'll show you where the files are on GitHub, what files you need, how to download them, and we're going to do all of this in Visual Studio 2019. I had some comments from people. The original system was put together in Visual Studio 2017, and I had some comments from people saying that 2019 wasn't working for them. So I thought that as that was the latest and greatest version of Visual Studio, then I thought I should show that, and so that's what we're going to do now. So let's just cut over to a different screen, and okay, so this is I've got Visual Studio 2019 started up here. I haven't actually done anything. I don't have any area for development yet, but I have seen that I was looking through this yesterday. I noticed that they have some nice buttons like onto cloning from repositories and stuff like that. So we're going to use that feature here, but if you don't use Visual Studio 2019, you can still get the files just in a slightly different way, using either Git or just go into the GitHub web page and downloading the zip file. But whichever way you get it, it'll all works the same. So to start with, I'm just going to clone the repository, and to speed things up, I've just got some copy pastes here, so this will help speed things up. So I've got under github.com SDRplay plugins. That's the repository that we're going to clone. I need to move this window so I can see the chat if there's any questions. I apologise for that. I hadn't appreciated that was going to overlap. Okay. So that is automatically going to put it into this area here, which is absolutely fine. Obviously, you can change this path to wherever you yeah. So Patrick, this both sections of the webinar are going to be available as videos on our website. We'll probably try and put them up as 2 separate videos, just so that people don't have to sit around, to get to the developer section. They can go straight into it. So hopefully that will help people. Right. Okay. So once I filled in that information, I just press clone, and now Visual Studio is doing its thing. It's now downloading all the files into a new folder. Okay, now it's done. It's going to do some stuff here which we're not particularly interested at the moment, but Visual Studio will do what Visual Studio does. In the meantime, we're going to actually go and have a look at the files that have been downloaded. So this is the repository area now on my local machine. And what we need to do is first of all need to go into Nana, which is Nana UI is the user interface that we have chosen for the plugin system. You don't have to use Nana UI. We've chosen it because it's cross-platform. So obviously we've got to mind that when we kind of go cross-platform, this user interface will be able to be used on any platform. So we need to go into Nana, into build, into the bin directory, and this file was too big for GitHub, so I had to zip it. So first thing, we just need to extract the contents of this zip file into the current directory, and this is the library file. So you can see it's a lot bigger than the zip file. Then we can delete the zip file, we don't need that anymore. So so now we've just got the library in the right place within the repository. Okay, and I'm just going to go back to plugins folder, and you can see that we've got some include files, we've got some resources which are just the background images that we use for the plugin system, and then we've got the there's a PDF here which explains the explains what the plugin system contains and the functions, etc. And we've also got these two projects, and we've got the template, which is just a blank window, and we've got the DX cluster, which is the DX cluster plugin that you've seen demonstrated earlier. Okay, so what we're going to go and do in here, and I don't really understand what Visual Studio's done here, but we don't need to do any of this. Hopefully, let's see, how do I get back from here to here? Right, so this is the view that I was expecting, and I want to go into the template project, and there's a solution file in there, so I'm literally just going to double click on the solution, and hopefully it will say it's come from a different version. So there's a warning there, and now it's going to do its thing, and you'll now see that on the right hand side we now have the template opened in Visual Studio, and we've got things like the header files here and source files, and everything's there in place. First thing we need to do is, by default, it sets the release build method to debug, so we don't want that, we want release, and it sets it to x64, which again we don't want, we want x86. SDRuno and the plugin system is a 32-bit system, so we want to make sure that we build for release and build for x86. And now that we've done that, this should all build absolutely fine. However, it won't, and I will show you why it won't. So I'll just right click on the project and do build, and what you'll see, hopefully down in the bottom here, is you'll see errors associated with the file system, and there is a hash define that you need to set, because the file system is being changed. The way that the file system has been done is being changed between 2017, which is what I built this system in, and 2019. So what we do is we go into the plugin template properties, we go into C++ preprocessor, and then we want to add, so the warning at the bottom there will tell you need to add _silence, _experimental, _file system, _deprecation, _warning. Nice and concise preprocessor word there that we have to put into here with a semicolon, and then hit OK. And now when I build this again, everything should be fine. We'll just give this a minute to build. Okay, so now it's compiling all of the resources. And now it's building the whole thing. And what that will give me is within the repository that we've cloned, there'll be now a new folder inside the template. So we go inside the template folder. There's now a new folder called release, and I go into release, and there is a file called SDRuno Plugin _template.dll. Now the way the plugin system works is that all the plugins need to start with SDRuno Plugin _ and then whatever your plugin name is after that. That's what it looks for when it's cataloging all of the plugins. So we're literally just going to copy that file, and we're going to put it into our Documents Community Plugins folder, because that's where Uno will be looking. You see it's in there along with some other DLLs that we've already got installed. And I'm now going to now just start up SDRuno. So you'll see it start to appear. And what you can hopefully see is that there is a plugin called Template. I don't know if hopefully you can see it. I hope it's not too small, but there is a plugin called Template there. If I click Load Plugin, then this template window appears, and by default it's just the same size as the plugin system window, and that's it. So we've just built our first template. It was that easy, and now we can go on and modify it. So all I'm going to do is very quickly show you how to add a button that all this does is going to mute and unmute the audio. Just a very simple modification. So we need to open up the form.h file, and this is where all of the buttons and all of the GUI stuff is defined, and you can see a lot of Nana controls in here. So we are literally going to add a button, and what I've done is I'll put this code in and then quickly explain what I'm doing here. So I've added a button. I've called it mute button, and I can actually make this, can I make this slightly bigger? Here we go. I can make this text a lot bigger. So I've added a button called mute button, and then you give it a properties, and in fact I'm going to slightly change this. In the system, in the files, we already have defines for the form width and height. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this button appear right smack in the middle of the plugin. So I'm going to do what I'll do is I'll do form width over 2 minus half the plugin width, which sorry, half of the button width, which is 40, and then I'm going to do form height over 2 minus the plugin minus half of the button height, which is 10. So oops, I can't spell, so that's form width and form height. So what that's done is that's going to put the button in the center of the plugin. It's an 80 wide with a 20 high is the button, and that's all I need to do in this file. So save that, and then I'm going to open up the form CPP, and this is where you'll see lots inside the setup function. There's a lot of stuff up here which is really just to do with the background. If you keep scrolling down, there's lots of stuff in here, but just keep scrolling down all the way, just keep going until you get to the bit that says extra form code goes here. This is where you start to add stuff to the template. And so we're going to add a few lines here. I'll do them one at a time so we can just briefly talk about what's going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to this setup function gets called right at the beginning. So this is where you do your initial setup of any buttons or sliders or labels or whatever. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a caption to the button, and we're going to make a call to SDRuno's plugin system, and we're going to find out if the audio button has been muted, and if it's muted, then we're going to display the text unmute, and if it's not muted, then we're going to display the text mute. That's all that does. I always set edge effects on these buttons to true, just makes them look slightly better. As you use them, if you decide to use the Nano UI interface, you'll find your own ways of doing stuff like that. But there's plenty of examples to find in the online or in our DX cluster plugin, for example. Now we're going to add an event. So we're going to decide what happens when that button is clicked, and we're going to do two things. We are going to, let me just paste that in. So we're going to set the we're going to make a call to the SDRuno plugin system. We're going to set the audio mute. I should explain what this 0 is, so I kind of skipped over that. So when you're finding out information from SDRuno, you need to tell it which VRX you're talking about. So here we want to know whether the audio is muted on VRX 0. But that could easily be, depending on how many VRXs you've got. And then here, when we click the button, we're going to set the audio mute function the inverse of what is already set. So if SDRuno is muted, then we're going to unmute it, and if it's muted, if it's not unmuted, then we're going to mute it. That's all that does. And then once we've done that, we're then just going to update the text on the button exactly the same as we did in the first line. So we're going to say update the caption on the button to say unmute or mute, so that when we mute the audio, the button on the text on the button reflects the opposite way around, so that so it effectively just becomes a toggle button. We need to finish off here with some syntax like that, and then we can save it, and that's it. That's all we need to do. And I'm going to now just build that again. Right click build. It's trundling through its builds. Yeah, I'll come back to the configurations in a minute. And debug. How do you get the focus for the current VRX? Not sure. I don't know what you mean about the focus, but in the functions, in the plugin functions, you can find out how many VRXs are open, and you can find out which VRX. And in fact, if you look at some of the plugins that have been made, you'll see that there is a VRX control already built inside them. The Contour plugin does have that, and I'm pretty sure Chris's Black Cat Systems plugin also has the VRX selection. Obviously, Fran won't, because it operates with an S1B file, which is not specific to a VRX. Okay, so that is now all built. We're going to go back to the folder. So we're back to our release folder where we've got a new DLL. So we will copy that, and we'll overwrite the plugin, the template DLL in the community plugins folder. We'll replace that. I'm now going to start up SDRuno again. Okay, we'll just wait for Uno to finish loading. Okay, and now I'm going to press play. So we've got something on there. I'm going to load the template. and you'll now see has magically got a button on it, and you can see that it says unmute. So if I now, I'm going to have to do this quite quickly because I don't want to get us a copyright strike for the audio. So if I press this, hopefully if I can press it on the side, you can see unmute, mute. Hopefully, I don't know if you're getting, I'm not sure if the audio is coming through actually. Let me turn the audio level right down. So if you look over here, you'll see on the VRX0 there is a mute button and it's highlighted, and you can see that if I just click here, so it says unmute, and now mute, unmute, mute, and you can literally do that with all of the plugin functionality. This is the same process as, like I said, what Eddie's doing in the Contour controller. So instead of pressing a button here, you're pressing a button on the controller, but it's doing the same thing via the plugin system. So that's it. That was basically all I had of how to kind of get the plugin system downloaded, built, and run within SDRuno. So we'll come back to myself and Mike. So let me have a quick look at chat. Have we got any questions? Oh, I was going to talk a little bit about debug and configurations. So I'm not I'm not a Visual Studio expert, and I don't use a lot of the debug functionality within Visual Studio. So I don't tend to use the configurations. If you select debug, you'll probably find that the Nana system will need to be rebuilt to support debug, and that's something we haven't done. We just use it as it is. Maybe some of the community developers in the chat can say how they go about doing debug, but I kind of do it. A slightly different way. You can output information to the screen to a debug view. You can use Microsoft's debug view, which will let you look at the debug log within the Windows system. So I kind of, because of having to do that for things like the API and other stuff, I kind of just sort of extended that through to the plugin system. But maybe, I don't know, other developers may have your mileage may vary on how you go about debugging your plugin. I don't know if there's anything else I can really show you on that. Obviously, if you have any questions, or if you have any issues using the plugin system, you can either come through to us on the ticket system, or come through to you can send if you've got an issue, send an email to software@sdrplay.com, and we'll try and help you out. Eddie, just rebuild Nana. The appropriate ODE is included in the Nana library. So there you go. I mean, the entire Nana distribution is included in the plugin system, so you should just be able to rebuild it with debug on. Need to be set for code generation to 3. Yeah, okay. So that's something I haven't done, but it looks like Edward's got you covered on that front. So that's kind of really it. I appreciate you all hanging on for the developer section. I know it's a bit shorter than the other section, but like I said, it's difficult to know what to actually show you without getting too bogged down in some of the details. But hopefully there's enough information on the GitHub page, and you can refer to this video on how to get it built and up and running if you get stuck. There is with the template, there is a kind of a hierarchy within the template. Maybe I should just touch on that a little bit, just for those of you that aren't really sure what's connected to what. Yeah, Eric's broken SDRuno many times, so I thank him for testing that out very thoroughly. Thank you, Eric. In fact, Eric has found an issue with the annotation system that will be that is fixed for the next release 1.41. So I appreciate, Eric, your feedback on that. Miss having semi-regular. The best place to give plugin sessions. Yeah, I would say if you go to Facebook, there's a SDRplay group on there. There's an SDRuno group on Facebook as well, and I would say they're the best places to discuss. I think all of the plugin developers that we've talked about today, I think they all frequent those that system, so they may have pointers for you or some of their experience. I would like to maybe have at some point, I'd like to maybe kind of have a bit of a roundtable discussion, maybe with some of the third-party developers, and maybe we could cover some common issues, and maybe help some people out that get stuck of how to get started. I know a lot of people have got ideas on what they want their plugins to do, but they don't necessarily know how to. They find C++ a bit impenetrable. I mean, some of the syntax of what I've been doing today, people are looking at going, how does that work? What does that mean? I'm not the person to teach you how C++ works, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's a great idea, Patrick. If anybody can do a video about debugging a plugin using Visual Studio, we'd certainly be happy to sort of spread the information about so that people can have a look at that. Regular webinars are quite. These webinars are quite. This has taken me some days to, not just me, but there's others involved. Mike's involved, obviously, and other people are involved, and these do take some effort to put together. But you're right, they are a good resource for people. We'll try and do a few more, but I can't obviously commit to when they're going to be. But it's finding the topics as well. So if you have some suggestions of topics, that we could maybe cover that we haven't already done. We don't really want to kind of keep going over the same ground over and over again. We've got all of the webinars convert over to videos, so we've got a lot of videos covering all the webinars that we've already done.
We have a big, extensive library.
There's a lot of video material on that YouTube site. Well, both YouTube sites, right, Mike? Because there's two YouTube sites, and now the Educators YouTube site is obviously there's another one, so there's a third YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of content out there already. But I would like to do a kind of a roundtable discussion with some other developers on the plugin system, as long as I don't get beaten up about it too much. But I'd be quite happy to do that. I think that'd be quite interesting. Get your guys' perspective on how this system works. But we've had some great feedback already. We've had some great feedback from the user community on the plugins that the third-party guys have put together, which is really great. We've really loved sort of seeing the sort of stuff that people are putting together using the system. We'll keep developing it. We'll keep there'll be some stuff coming in 1.41, which we hope will make you want to use plugins even more. So it's all going in a great direction. I don't know what Juice is. It's probably another UI. I think my brain overload at this point if I tried to ask you what Juice was. But I'll go away and have a look at what that is. It's probably another. Is that another cross-platform user interface, or is that I've not heard of. I don't know what Juice is, but I'm learning about this stuff all the time as well. Okay, so unless there's any other questions or anything that we haven't covered that we could do. Don't think so. I think everybody's kind of asked what we asked everything we can answer. Okay. Well, I really appreciate everybody coming for both sessions, both the user, the end user section, and there's a lot of people that stayed around for the developer section, which were excuse me. It's a very dry. The subject matter is very dry, so it's difficult to make this stuff look and sound interesting sometimes. But I really appreciate you. I didn't put my plugin under the plugin directory, but at the same level as the plugins directory, it makes publishing my projects easier. The source code for Fran is available and reflects this. There you go. So yeah. So Mike. So all good? You're muted, Mike. Can't hear you.
All right, well, guys, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us for the second half. Great pleasure to see everybody and all the great comments. And as I said earlier, if anybody has any questions or comments about the previous videos that you saw or the stuff that Andy discussed, definitely get in touch with us. We really like hearing from everybody in the community. It's a great pleasure. And personally, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday and a safe, very safe New Year. And it's just a great pleasure to be here with you guys. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, same for me. Everyone have a safe, safe and hopefully 2021 is going to be a lot better than 2020. But yeah, everybody stay safe and have a good holidays, and we'll see you in another webinar or video very soon, hopefully. Thank you for all the questions, and thanks for sticking around. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.